Hi guys, Dave here from Wolf in the Wilds with episode 2 of Bugging Out. Topic for this video, skills that you are going to need to know. The more skills you can master, the better off you're going to be in both a long-term survival situation, like bug out, or even a emergency survival situation. Something happened and uh-oh, what am I going to do now? So skills are important. If you go off into the woods with a whole bunch of tools and no real idea how to use them, essentially what you have is one tool in your toolbox, a hammer. And that's not going to be good for most tasks. So you're going to need to know as many different skills as possible, or at the very least have a group of friends that are part of your bug out network and each is responsible for a certain skill set. So, skill number 1, fire lighting. Very basic, very kind of important, basically. It's probably one of the more important skills. Without a fire, you can't do a lot of things. So, like me, where I am, I have to contend with a lot of rain. I have to deal with 4, 5, 6 feet of snow or more sometimes. I have to know how to light a fire in all of these conditions with at least, a lighter and a ferro rod. As many different ways as you can possibly learn to light a fire and master those skills, the better. But as far as it goes, the best way to light a fire is the quickest way. Master the skills, sure, but get that fire lit as quickly as possible in a survival situation. It's not a time to practice your skills. You should be practicing these skills before something happens. So that is number 1. Next skill I want to talk to you about is sewing, knitting, weaving, manipulating raw materials into cloth or yarn or thread. Sort of that whole broad spectrum of skills that allows you to take raw materials and turn it into a mat to sleep on, clothing to wear, a bag to put things in, any of that kind of stuff. Clothes, sleeping pads, tents, tarps, all that stuff is going to wear out over time. And in a long-term survival situation, repairs will need to be made, items will need to be replaced. And if you or someone in your group has the ability to take raw materials and utilize them to make a nice comfortable pad to sleep on, you're not necessarily going to have to sleep in a big pile of dirty leaves. If you can utilize materials for shelter building that are going to last a lot longer than just putting some sticks up on a log and throwing a bunch of leaves on it, over the long term it's going to be more beneficial. So somebody in your group or you should at least have some moderate skills in turning natural materials into things that you can create these items out of that you will need over time. Next skill, first aid. At least your level C, or whatever they would call it in your country or your area, where you are fairly proficient across the board with most first aid procedures, which also includes being able to perform CPR and basic rescue skills on everybody, including children. So that is generally like a 1-week course, and it can be rather costly, but it is definitely worth it. And it's not necessarily something that you have to keep up to date all the time, but it's good to go in and update yourself, every 4 or 5 years at least, just so that you can learn any new procedures that may have been developed to replace older procedures that are less efficient, effective, whatever. So first aid is an absolute must. I mean, it's right there with fire. You know, if you don't know first aid, you have nobody to be a field medic in your team, there's going to be a lot of problems. The next skill I want to talk about is very specialized and very hard to come by. Chances are you might not have it in your skill set or in your group, but it is just so useful. Blacksmithing. You don't necessarily need to make super high quality items, but if you understand metalworking, metallurgy, if you can blacksmith, then you can make axe heads, you can make knives, you can make tools that will be extremely useful in a long-term situation. And some of these things do tend to break, not so much wear out that quickly, but they do tend to break with extended use. So being able to make or repair axe heads, knives, things like that is just invaluable in a long-term survival situation. Next skill, cooking. Cooking is generally very difficult to master. I mean, anybody can just throw something over a fire and eat it. But to really be able to cook, I mean, that's as hard as blacksmithing or any other skill to master. It is something that I think is important, because if you're in a bug out or survival situation of any kind, your morale's going to be pretty low, probably. And a good, hot, wholesome meal is going to go way far to improve your morale. Okay, you can ping off a squirrel, or as I like to call it, a bushy-tailed tree bacon. But anybody can ping off a squirrel, cook it over a fire, and it's all black and, you know, kind of charred, dry. You know, you eat it and it sustains you. But somebody who knows how to cook, somebody who can take a little of this and a little of that and combine things and really make that just a really good, tasty meal where you get all the nutrients out of it. Every last bit of goodness of that squirrel goes into you to fuel you, and it tastes good. That it will go a long way to stave off depression. And in a long-term survival situation, depression can mean death. If you can't get up and do what you need to do to maintain your camp, to maintain your supplies, and to stock up for the winter, you're in for a real hurting time. So somebody in your group needs to know how to cook, and needs to know how to cook well. Next, skinning and tanning. Knowing how to weave fibers together and knit and sew and all of that, that's great, that's awesome. But in a long-term situation, you're probably going to be doing some hunting. And squirrels, rabbits, small game. You can take their hides, put them together, and make socks or boots or mittens, or over time even a good-sized coat or pair of pants or something or other that's going to help keep you dry and warm. And I'm all for using every part of the animal that you possibly can. If you are going to kill an animal for food, utilize it for everything else that you possibly can. Their hides can make clothing and washcloths, and just all kinds of useful things. Their bones can be used for knife handles or even knives in a pinch, or fish hooks, all kinds of, you know, things like that. But skinning and tanning is definitely something that you or someone in your camp needs to know. It is an invaluable skill that will keep you happy for a much longer period of time. Next skill: small engine repair and automotive. In some sort of bug out scenarios, SHTF situations, I don't know, zombie apocalypse, as ridiculous as it sounds, whatever it is, you're going to need to know how to fix engines, both large and small. If you are lucky enough to have a generator, when it breaks down, you're going to want to know how to fix that. That is just invaluable, especially if it happens to be, you know, a diesel generator and you have access to diesel tanks. Even an automotive engine can also be a generator. It's got an alternator. You can use it to generate power. You can use it to generate heat. It's something that if you live with it for a while, you're not going to want to live without. And if you don't know how to repair it, eventually you're going to live without. So somebody in your camp needs to know about engine repair, both small engine and auto mechanic. In a lot of situations, it is an invaluable skill. A lot of people tend to miss the importance of a skill, navigation. Most people don't even know how to use a compass properly. They just, okay, that way's north, I know how to use a compass. No, it's a little more involved with that. You might not have to travel far to your bug out location. You might have to. You might have to navigate through some pretty harsh terrain for whatever reason. Opposing military is occupying certain areas. Aliens have landed and they want to probe you. You want to get off the beaten path and find your way to your bug out camp without being noticed. And navigation will allow you to do that much more efficiently and effectively. The more energy you spend going around in circles or getting lost, the worse off you're going to be in the long run. So somebody needs to know how to navigate with a decent map, a decent compass. It's an invaluable skill when you are traveling. So keep that in mind if your bug out location is a fair distance from your home. The next skill is really easy to understand why it's important. And for a lot of us, it's a skill that we start to learn as children. Carpentry. If you are proficient in the art of carpentry, woodworking, it's just such an invaluable skill. You can build extremely efficient shelters. If you know how to do a proper dovetail joint, you will not be building shelter after shelter, table after table, wasting twine and cordage and all kinds of resources. You'll build it once and it'll last a long time. If you know how to properly build a log cabin or a decent shed, just such an invaluable skill. You always want to have a carpenter in your group. And if that carpenter is not you, then it should be somebody that you're friends with, because it's just such... If you're bugging out and you can just go and build a house, you're heads and tails above most other people. So you definitely want that. It's, I grew up building forts all over the woods, and you know, a windstorm would come and blow them down, or, you know, the snow would pile up and crush them. So it's definitely not a skill that I ever mastered young. But, you know, I mean, fact of the matter is, the older I got and the more practiced I got, the longer my forts would last. And I would much rather sleep in a like a really well constructed log cabin than I would, you know, one of these survival shelters that you know, people are putting up on YouTube, where they cover them with leaves and twigs and pine boughs and whatnot. You know, I mean, yeah, they're good to get you by, but if you build one of those and start working on, you know, an actual cabin, way better, way better. So remember carpentry. Last but not least, hunting and trapping. You have to obtain food. You have to obtain raw materials for making clothing, shelter, various tools. And knowing how to hunt and trap is definitely something that is just so handy. Understanding how animals think, how animals work, understanding how to find a game trail, when and where to put up certain traps, how to gauge where your best success will be, whether it be small game or larger game, deer, bear, moose. Even knowing where to find certain snakes that are edible, it's going to keep you alive a lot longer. So you should probably have a couple of hunters in your group if you're, you know, putting together a long-term plan for a bug-out camp. That isn't necessarily an exhaustive list of all the skills that you're going to need, but it's basically what I can think of right now. And it certainly is enough to give you food for thought, to come up with, well, anything I might have missed. And I'm sure there's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot. But if I were to go over every single skill that would even be remotely useful, this video would be a lot longer than most people would be wanting to watch. So those are the important ones that I think you should absolutely have no matter what. I've probably missed a couple here and there, and by all means, get on that comment section and, you know, start discussing. That's what we're here for, to learn, to figure out, and make our lives better in the event that things get worse. So, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to talk to you guys in the comments and keep this rolling. So, have a good day. See you later.